Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, we're starting a little bit late here. It is entirely my fault. Give me a moment. I am still getting my stuff set up here. As always, if you've got a question, just drop it into the Q&A or the chat or raise hand and we will get to you. We have one pre-submitted question that will get added to the chat here. And who's that question from that we've just posted? Okay. That's from Adam? Okay. Hey, all right. So is there a way to move or reorganize what order of the items are in a data repeater? I would do this with an event button, arrow icons, and would have an active form flow that would handle this. My thought was that there was some kind of index on the data repeater for each item, but I wasn't sure if it was accessible during the form display. Yeah, that's a great question, Adam, but you shouldn't think about it. The answer is yes, you can, but you shouldn't think about it as if the repeater itself owns the index. You need to have the object that the repeater is rendering for you to have some kind of index that you're going to interact with. So you could have an active form, like you could have a button that says move selected row to first or something, right? But the only way to do that is to have the object that the repeater is have an index number. You have like the active form flow is fetching those things or sorting them by the order, and then you're updating or setting the value on that object. It's not something inherent to the repeater control itself, if that makes any sense at all. Like you've got to filter and sort the object list in your active form flow to get it to display in a defined order.
So the repeater controller wouldn't have that, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like imagine. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was to say so obviously when I add a transformation, right? Where is my thing? My options here. I guess I can't. So like do I need to, when I'm adding a transformation for that button, do I need to have an event then that adds an additional index or an additional some kind of like counter or number to that row that it's using?
Like let's assume you have like a list of accounts in a repeater, right? Now, and inside of that repeater is sourced by an active form flow. So likely what you would have is like a fetch entities step, right? And if you fetch those entities with a sort like descending, they'll show in descending order when you run that form. And if you do ascending, they'll show in ascending order. So it's the order of the collection itself. Now, an account doesn't have like a list order index, right? At all. It's just a collection. But what you would have to have is a property on that object called like data repeater order that you would then set in some way, right? Like you'd have to have a property on the object itself that your flow interacted with to set it to 0 or to 1 or to 2 or whatever it might be to get you the ordering that you're looking for. And so if you don't want to touch your actual object, one way to do this might be to create a simple flow structure and do like a list mapping to and from that flow structure so that you don't have these unnecessary properties on your main object. There's no like really easy way to do this. Like you can do it with the flow. I guess it's one of those places where you just have to use the flow engine and data mapping to do this, and not like a control, if you will.
Okay.
Is that making? Is what I'm saying making sense at all? I don't think I'm doing a good job of describing it to you here.
Somewhat.
I can build an example really quick.
Yeah. So like, and I can show you my screen and what I'm doing. But I don't see a screen option on this in this meeting.
Yeah, bear with me. Let me just build, I think I can
Okay.
wing one together here super quickly. So test type 1, and this thing's gonna have a str1 and then an index, which will be an integer.
Yep.
All right, and then I'm gonna build a flow here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fetch accounts, and I'm gonna list, actually, hold on, I need to do this all in active form flow. So I'm just gonna show a form. Picker create new form, create. And on this form, I'm gonna put a data repeater. So user control data repeater. And I'm gonna picker create. And then here, I'm gonna put a label. Actually, first thing is first, I'm gonna bind it to that object I just created, test type 1. And then I'll go to my label and I'll say text from data name, pick from data, form data, str1. And I'll do this here, same thing, and I'll make this my index. Okay. And then I'm gonna save this. And then I need to name this as dr. And that's fine. And then I'm gonna add an active form flow here. And then in here, what I'm gonna do is have a list here of test type 1. I'm missing a T. There's test type 1, list is list. Okay, and then I'm going to use form rules set value. And I'm gonna find form data, data repeater. And item source will be select the list I defined. And I will ignore these. All right, and then I'm gonna define a list here. So the inputs, I'm gonna do constant. And I'm gonna add index 0, item 0. And add another one, which will be index 1, item 1. And the thing I need to do here is do a sort array. Yeah, sort array. And the type here will be test type 1. And the input would be list. And the field will be index. And I'll do this descending. So it should go backwards. So if I save this and then run on startup.
Mhm.
And if I debug this, it should show item 1 first, I think, or item 0, item 1. Let me see here really quickly. View input 0, 1, item 1, item 0. Oh, you know what? I didn't pass in the right thing. Just a moment. Oop, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to come here and edit this. I need to change my mapping for this. This isn't list. This actually, I'll just do this. I'll do change value, sort array, change value, list. Let me just stay here and duplicate my tab so I don't have to bounce around so much. No, and I'll run flow 1. Oh, I didn't save it. No, good grief. Sorry.
That's all right.
Let me actually save it instead of just debug it. Here we go. And I'll debug and run, and it should be 1, 0 now. So I'm actually using the active form flow. Now, all I have to do is figure out how to use this, pass the selected item in and, increment or decrement its index and force a refresh on the active form flow run using this. Does this make sense at all?
Yeah, I guess the thing is for me is I'm not going to have an index assigned when I create. So
right.
Again, I would have to have some way, because what I'm doing is I'm taking I'm creating a drop-down list that's going to contain rules that we're going to have. And then those rules are going to have to be in a specific order. And so when I add a repeater, basically it's going to be the first time it's ever going to be instantiated into anything. So there isn't really a database that's holding this information, that's pulling it back. I'm creating this information, then I'm going to save it to a database structure.
Sure.
So when I do add transformation, I would have to either well, probably both, but I'd have to assign whatever it is I just created that's on the data repeater currently, some kind of index value. And then I would have to increment that value and somehow have the form know that I'm doing that.
Yeah, but like you would, yeah, that's right. Like, you know, we could, do I have show selection type would be, I don't know, visual indicator. That's fine, whatever. And then I want to have a, like, I don't know of a way to do this. Maybe I'll just use an event button right now. I'm just going to swap the order of the items, right? So raise event, and I'm going to run. So I'm going to come run my data flow or my active form flow on event trigger now, right? So event on click.
Yep.
And this isn't going to be an exact example, but if I edit, if I edit this flow, right, I could, I mean, this is kind of a dumb example, but like, what do I want? Oh, good Lord, here we go. Let me sit just 1 second. Let me set this to, let me just do this. I'm not going to do this on an event button. I'm going to do it on a checkbox. And I'm going to have a checkbox here called sort descending, right? Whatever. And it's going to be, and here's my name, sort descending. Yeah, there you go. Spelled wrong. I'm going to edit this. And what I'm going to do is if it's true, so use a true false rule. If it's true, I'll go here. And if it's false, I'm going to copy this step and I'm going to change the order to ascending and then go to set control value.
Can you provide an example of what would be if we wanted to change that index number? Because that's really what's going to have to happen. So I have to either add an index number or I have to do something that this thing's going to know this is the current index that you have on your data repeater.
Yeah, you can get the selected item if you look at your Data Explorer form data.
Yeah.
Inside a data repeater, you get selected item as, so I can click a test type 1 and then I could have a change to it. I could update its index number.
Okay.
Like you have it available to you. I think that might get a little tricky just for selected path is not valid. Why? Let me save this and come back in. Oh no, why is this not valid? Oh, sorry, value. But if I run this now, we just start a new session here. Oops, and start debugging. Rule flow failed because I don't have, oh, I didn't save this. Let's try that again. Debug. There we go. And so, and I need to get it to refresh. Good Lord. Sort checkbox value changed. Here we go. Save. Let's try that. Boom. Run. So it's swapping them around. And all you have to do now is use the selected value. So like I could have this with a button that says move to first. And what it would have to do is run that active form flow. Yeah. And then it has the item. So it would do like a change value on that item and then resort the array and then pass the set control value.
Okay. And you're saying that you think it's going to get messy if I mess with the selected items?
No, just for my ability to quickly give you a demonstration since we're already like 18 minutes in here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd be happy to try to get, we could probably give you like get someone from CS or support to give you like a more specific like recreation of this. But I think all you have to do is take this pattern we have here, plus the fact that you can use the selected, you get the selected item in as form data, and you can get what you want.
Okay. No, I took a screenshot of this, so I should be able to replicate that. I just want to make sure that one, the data repeater, because I knew that it had to have some kind of indexing, because when it comes out, it has
Right.
a list of stuff. So there has to be some kind of indexing I can interact with to change the order. And it'll just my logic will just have to be a little more like defined and concise in regards to the up down order of what the selected item is and where that is, and then how that affects the other items in the list, because those orders will also have to change.
Yeah, that's, yes, you have to actually touch the list itself, not just rearrange the
Yeah.
list, because it does have an index, but the index isn't part of the collection. It's,
Mhm.
and so it doesn't have anything for you to move it around on. Like we don't append an index to the item in the list like
Mhm.
automatically. That's why I
Okay.
created this flow structure. So you might have to have like an intermediate type that does some of that.
Okay. Yep. That shouldn't be a problem. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and Manal's got a question here about the inbox, so I can let you talk, Manal. So Manal, your question is, can you edit the inbox to allow pending assignments?
Yes, like in
Yeah.
version 6, they used to have one more on the column on the right, which will have like current and pending assignments. So I was
Mhm.
wondering if it's possible to add that section in the version 8 report, I mean inbox too.
Oh, that like actually the right-hand side where we had let you switch reports?
Yes, like it would show like current and
Oh,
pending assignments and the documents and all other stuff.
I don't think we can do that anymore. Oh, that's a good question. I thought you were just asking if we could include pending assignments in the inbox in line, which we could. Like, this is just a report, so you could change the data source of this to be something else. Like here, if I
Um,
changed the assignment inbox from assignment inbox to just like assignment data source,
mhm.
and then here I could get pending assignments. I don't have any in my local, but this would then include pending in line. So you could have them show in line here. That view on the right, I don't think exists anymore though. What you,
Gotcha.
so what you might
Mhm.
have to do if you need it, if that's important for your users is, oh, that's nice.
Mhm.
Possibly create some custom pages on the inbox folder to show different things. Or make a I don't think we have I don't think we give you the ability to create that view in any of the page designers. It was like a special thing that we
Mhm.
got rid of.
Gotcha, because like sometimes business users have a lot of tasks and they wanted me to group the task by the name of the project. So
Hmm.
for example, if it's like credit card applications, PM estimates, they
Right.
will have all the, and that I know I was able to do that in current and pending assignments, but so there's no way I can do it now, like in inbox.
So like those would be like the process folder names or something.
Yes. Mhm.
We can definitely get this for you, and probably even better than you had before, but we might have to write like a custom query to do this.
Okay, yeah,
Like
if
if you
that is
wanted,
possible. Mhm.
because like with assignment data source, like you can like let me have a flow really quick that creates up with a process folder. Just a moment here.
Mhm.
Let me just use a let me use a setup process folder here and an assign form. Okay, process folder goes here. No, not recent. Go to where I'm currently at, which is there. There we go. I think that's where I'm at. And then description, constant. And then in session assigned, I'm gonna assign this to administrators, and I'm gonna do constant for my assignment action names. And oh, I guess I have to actually create my form here with a button. Yeah, and so here, let me just run this really quick.
Mhm.
And then, was that flow 5? Great. So now I have an assigned form. And so what I'm going to do is come create a report. And I'm going to use that assignment data source. And you'll see if I add the entity name, there's ASDF, that's the thing I just created. But what you can do is under data source here, you can add and you can go to in folder and you can join containing folder. And then what I can do is I get these in things like in entity name. And if I use in, this in means this is the properties given to you from the folder itself. And if I do in entity name, it's going to give me the folder, the process. If this gives me the process folder. And if you're using process folders, I should be able to do, or in entity type name, in behavior type maybe, in folder type name. There you go. You can specify that in the set up process folder step. Or we could like join the assignment to the folder and then use like the project name. Like if you can join the assignment to, this is a great place where if I had an execution extension, I might be able to create some reports showing the assignment in line with like the custom data of the flow execution extension. But what I'm doing right now is using this in folder type name. I don't know if you guys are using this at all, but I think on the setup process folder, if I look at this and I look at my setup process folder step, it's going to be folder type name. And this would be like, credit approval. If I run this again and I go back to my report, I think it should show me credit approval. Yeah, there's credit approval. So, and then what you could do is in this report, you can just group by that in folder type name and allow users to see all tasks by process in line in the inbox without needing to click around. That might be an option. It's definitely a change for a user since we can't recreate that thing.
Gotcha. So for example, they wanted like in inbox. So in inbox right now we use assignment inbox. So I should just take that out and switch it with the assignment data source.
You could, I mean, it'll give you more control over what like the inbox report is filtering pending and things. The assignment data source won't filter pending. So this could have pending and current assignments. You probably have to like remove ones that are completed and things like that. But that is an option. Or just completely recreate your own custom inbox folder and dashboard. You don't even need to use the default one if you don't want to. Like it's just a decisions folder.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Like for example, like a report or like a dashboard page for them just specifically for that project.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you so much. Appreciate your help.
Okay, you bet. All right, and up next is Mr. Potter. What do you have for us, Alex?
Yeah, two very quick things. One is how can I find out what is running for a particular type of flow?
What do you like? What step is running?
No, like what I want to know, like if I want to do an implementation that's got changes, I want to know currently of that type of flow, are there any that are in flight?
Is this like a version of a flow? Like maybe a flow you've made edits to, there's like a version 1 and a version 2?
Yeah, I want to put version 2 in, but I want to make sure all of version 1s are completed before I do that to prevent mucking anything up.
And we're assuming this is a long-running assignment-based form of assignment-based flow, right?
Yeah.
You would have to, there's no revision number, but if you used like stored workflow report, you could get at this. You'd have to try to correlate. You have import history data, which tells you like when the last time a flow was imported. So you could look at your history of those things. So if I went to system administration, system tools, system validation, I could look at import history and I could search by the ID or name of a flow and I could identify its import history onto like the production server. And then in stored workflows, I could use like primary flow name or ID and then created date. And then possibly state here.
Okay, state? So I guess that's what I'm looking for, the primary flow name. Okay, so yeah, so if I go in and basically create a report on this, identify the primary flow name, I can see if anything is currently running. That's all I'm really interested in.
Yeah, there should be a state here that says completed, but it might be that these get hard deleted when they're done. That might be worth it. Oh yeah, this is actually, okay, I think like if you ran a filter that said any flow 5s that were created on or launched, created means like the flow was started, right? Before like Jan 1 of this year, if this report were empty, I think it means there's none running. If you see any rows, it means there are some still that have yet to complete, and you could look at the ones, you could investigate the ones that have yet to complete. But there's no revision number that you could look at that says like 5 V1s and 4 V2s in that kind of level of detail.
Okay, so I guess what I'm looking for a shortcut for is that what I do now is I can go into the process folder and I can get the primary flow tracking ID, and then I can go to system administration and I can filter on that flow tracking ID, and if it's not there, the flow is not running.
Right.
So I want to do that
Correct.
for all of them.
Yeah.
Rather than going through one, instance in the process folder at a time, I want to basically be able to look at all of the process folders for that particular folder.
Yeah, and we could, so what we would do is you'd need a query for that, and it would be something like you join like entity folder as EF, oops. And then you could join, are these process folders or cases?
Process folders for, those extension,
yeah.
flow execution extension.
Tracking folder data on FTFD extension ID equals EF dot extension ID. And then you could interjoin the flow state storage data as flow state storage data on flow state storage data dot, let me make sure really quick here. Flow state storage data is it primary flow tracking ID, primary flow ID, current flow ID, where is it at? Come on, flow tracking ID dot flow tracking ID equals FTFD dot, I think it's flow tracking ID. I think this will work. Oh, I actually have some interesting. And then you could say where EF dot entity folder ID equals your parent folder ID of all your process folders. That should give you all of the flow tracking ID. That should allow you to confirm. This query gives you the basis, at least. You could take this query, create a report from it, and then kind of build like a management dashboard if you needed to.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll put this in the chat here if you want to copy it out.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and the other thing is that this is, I'm not sure whether I'm just getting old or whatnot, but we moved from 6.18 to 8.6 fairly recently.
Yeah.
And on the flow design surface, one of the things that I'm noticing is that if I'm over on the right-hand side working with an object on the surface, and I click it, the properties page, kind of overwrites my work area. Is that new?
Oh, the slide out thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can disable that thing. I hate it personally. It is new in 7, not new in 8. But if you go to, we can disable that for you. It's really, I've hated it since we added it. But if you search in Designer Studio settings, I think if you search for action, row left click action type, you can turn it back to show actions instead of show slider, and that should stop it from sliding out for you.
Even like, so that I've fiddled around with for reports and that sort of stuff, but what I'm talking about is the designer surface. When you're designing a flow and you click on one of the objects in the flow, there's the properties thing slides out from the right.
Yeah, exactly.
That controls that as well?
That's this thing. That's called the slider. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can cause it to not show up at all by changing this Designer Studio setting here.
Okay, cool, great. Appreciate that.
You bet. All right, and then we got a question from Wade here. Is it possible to create a PDF from an object in its child objects? Use case is a job sheet that would have labor, equipment, and materials. You can create PDFs from HTML, and you can build up dynamic HTML in a flow, if that's your question, Wade. There's kind of two ways to do PDFs. If you already have a PDF existing and you just want to map to its form fields, you can do that. But if you want to build up, I think we have an example of this in our project section of our doc site. Let me see, merge HTML tables. Yeah, first the table is initialized. Let's download. I think this is it. Let me download the project here really quickly onto my local and see if what I'm saying is correct. It sounds like what you're asking is, can you build dynamic PDF files in the workflow
Yeah,
engine?
because we would have job summaries, and they could have a number of different labor, different peoples, and so there'd be any 4 child tables to
Right.
this one job summary, but at the end they want to print it. I say print it off. They want it in a PDF, so then they could store that on the actual job as a file.
So you can. So where's this thing? Where did I just put that at? Where's there it is. Example lab create table. Let's run. Let me see this flow really quick. I'm gonna have it send an email from to me. I don't want this to be like constant. So will@decisions.com. Let's run this. Okay, let me go to my email here really quick. This is a terribly ugly email, but here you can see that flow sent me an email with an HTML table in it. It just has no formatting. And if we look at that flow, what it's doing is it creates a table string. It loops 5 times. This is not a great example. And what you see is it actually using this it's this velocity merge step in velocity merge, and it's building up a table row each time. And then it's going to go ahead and what it actually does is insert that into proper HTML, and then it passes that into a merge into the body of an email. But there's a step here called HTML to PDF, which could take in those same inputs and give you a PDF file out. And we've got a really helpful, we have a really helpful flow here I built ages ago in our forum. I've been talking about a lot recently, which is, oh, come on, where are you at? I need to get this into a better place so I don't have to dig into the forum to find this. Object to HTML flow. This thing actually gives you the ability to build really dynamic HTML tables. I'm going to put this in the chat for you here. So with like alternating row colors and inline styling and such. But basically, yes, the stuff you're looking for is HTML to PDF. And this link here is a very simple example. I'll put this in the chat too, of how you can use iteration and merge steps in a flow to build up dynamic HTML content.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, so I need to get it all into HTML, and then once that's done, I'll just convert it into PDF.
Exactly right. So it's not the most wonderful way to use the flow engine, but once you get a feel for it, we have lots of customers who build very dynamic documents, but they run through these sort of complicated flows where they add tags and CSS classes and create tables of dynamic row counts and things like that.
Okay, great.
All right. All right, you bet, happy to help. And oops, though, didn't mean to click that. All right, and then Dorn, you've got like 5 user accounts here, so I'm not sure which I'll click on. But Dorn's got a question. Is there a way to call an active form flow from an action triggered from an advanced data grid located on that form? Is it the row selection that's the trigger, Dorn?
Hi, actually, I raised this question, Nikesh here.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
it shows you as Doran. Go ahead, Nikesh.
Yeah. So assume I have a form, okay? So initially, when the form loads, I have a data repeater in that, and in that I have two rows. The row 1 has value, say for example ABC, and the row 2 has value, say for example XYG.
Okay.
So using the remove button, I deleted the row 1, first one. And for the second row, I have XYG. So I modified it as XYG 1, 2, 3, say for example. And using the add new button, I added one more row. Say for example, 1, 2, 3. So basically I have 2 rows now, right? One is updated and one is newly added and one is deleted.
Okay.
So what I want to do is that I just want to, write some flow or hit some buttons so that in the backend, in the database, what it will do is that the existing row that I have deleted, it should delete me, and the updated one should get updated automatically, and the newly inserted row should get create a new record in the database. So like, is there any way, I just wanted to understand in the data repeater inbuilt, we can set some flag saying that this row is deleted, this is updated, and this one
Right.
is the new row.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no easy. There's no easy way to do this. It's actually a non-trivial ask to identify the no longer present item in the list, right? What's been deleted. It doesn't. What we should do, but don't, is actually output a list of deleted, of updated, and of new. But you have to kind of figure it out from the flow itself. Sorry, let me pause my notifications on Slack a bit more. So like, if you delete an item, it won't come out as an outcome of the data repeater. And so you have to compare and contrast the input list to the output list to see what was deleted if you need to mark something deleted in the database. And it would be like, so if, is the example like, if I show a list of things, and if a user removes it from the data repeater, I need to delete that record in the database. Is that the use case?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to do. Oh, this is going to be. I'm just going to create a new folder. This is going to be ugly. This is kind of unfortunately tricky. Okay, just a moment here. So let me create an entity really quick to be my data type. This will be called dr type 1. Oops, dr type 1. Oh, Lord. And I'll just do a single string property here. And I'm just going to be able to show, add, edit, and delete in the UI. Okay. And I'm going to add I'm going to add 2 of those. So add entity user defined dr type 1. This is named 1. This is type 1. I'm going to add another one here. Add entity user defined dr type 1 2. Oh, nice. Type 2. All right, and then what I'm going to do is build a flow. And I'm going to fetch those entities. And this will be dr type 1 as my type. And then I'm going to put a form out here. Picker create form, create new form, create button. And then I'm going to create a data repeater. Oops, that's not right. Data repeater. And I'm going to create I'm going to picker create, repeater, create. And then here, what I'll do is just show a text box, and I'll bind it to my type, which will be dr type 1. And my text box will be pick from data, form data, str1. Okay. And then I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to name this dr data. And I want to selection type is, I want to find my, where is my data repeater remove? So here's remove. So I can click a row. Selection type would be visual indicator. I can click a row and I can remove that data. So let's save this. Let's connect this. Let's save this. And let's see if this is set up. Oh, I have to map my inputs first, of course. So here's dr data, should come from entity results. And selected line, I will set to ignore. Okay, so here's type 1, type 2. So if I click on type 2, I can remove it from the list. Oh, Lord, assuming that I actually appropriately configure it. So I come to my data repeater and I find my remove button and I select it. There we go. Wonderful. Helps when you do things the right way. So here, okay, I can remove that. So I'm in the state you're asking about here, right? You want to know how to identify that type 2, the type 2 record was actually removed?
Right, yes.
Yeah. So if we look at our input and output data, what we can see is on inputs, we've actually got 2 items, and on outputs, we've got a single item. So we know what happens is it just, it doesn't output it. So this is unfortunately too much work, admittedly. But what I could do is loop the entity results, and then I could see if it's in the list, right? And I'll just do string is in list, just to make it simple. And I'm just going to check to see if the entity name. So here's, I'm going to do case sensitive is true. The list is going to be select from flow, and I'm going to look at the selected DR data, which is the output of my data row, of my data repeater. Right? Nope, not selected. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. I want a list of DR data. It's DR data. This is the list of all things. And this is, I'm gonna look at all entity name here. You'd probably be looking at ID or something. And I'm gonna in my for each step, I'm going to pass item entity name somewhere. There we go. Entity name. No, it's not entity name. It's str1. I need to check str1, not entity name. So forgive me. I'm gonna look at all str1. All right. And if it's in the list, I'm going to do nothing. And if it's not in the list, really quickly, just to check, I'm just going to go to create data step and end, and then be done. So let me try to debug this. Okay, so I can remove this and run. Okay, great. And now I know that one of them comes up. So what I need to do then is, excuse me, user defined entities, dr type 1, and then do a delete. And I can put that delete on this path here. And look at that. Let me save this and come back. It's keeping that property grid. There we go. And then the ID will come from item.id. I'm happy to walk through this. I'm sure I'm doing a bad job. But if I debug this, here it is. I'm going to remove test type 2 and then run. So something got deleted. And if I run again, I should only get type 1. And that way, I've checked the list I was dealing with originally, using against the list coming out of my form to determine if I should update anything. You're going to have to do some version of this in your flow if you're allowing users to delete items from a data repeater that need to be sent into the database. Does that help at all?
Yeah. Yes. So basically, I mean, I have to write my own logic to see which is deleted, updated, and inserted. As of now, we don't have any such inbuilt feature that gives
Correct.
me. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You have to do it in the workflow for better or worse.
Okay.
Admittedly, that should be easier. Say putting my product management hat on, it should be easier, but that's what it is today. Okay, any other questions from anybody today? Okay, is that everything? I don't know.
Hi, well.
Oh, hey, Dorn. Hey, sorry, there's like 5 versions of you here.
I know, I just forwarded it to the entire team, and one of my team members stole my identity
Yeah.
and asked his own question other than mine. So I apologize for that.
No,
I don't know if we still have time?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Back to the original question, which is there a way to call an active form flow from an action triggered by an advanced data grid located on that form?
Right. but like, what's the action? Is it row selection? Or is it like a right click action running an
It's a
entity?
right click action. It's a right
Ooh.
click action. Yeah.
I don't think you can do that right now. I
Okay.
don't think there's a way to relate those two things together at all.
So if I wanted to refresh my advanced data grid, as a result of that action that was taken, then I have to find some clever way to do that.
Oh, okay. So you have a list of items in a data grid, advanced data grid. You're gonna right click on one and say update name, right? And you want to then refresh that data grid with the updated name in it.
Correct.
Stink. You should be able to do that. I don't. Oops. I hope I didn't need to save that. You should be able to do that. Let me just see here really quickly. Let's create a new form. You should be. I don't think you can, but like that's a really reasonable thing to be able to want to do. So let's search for data and data grid advanced. Let's add a button. And data grid advanced here, type, we'll just use that DR type 1 I just created. Info only would be single select. Output name is output data. Input name is input data. Okay. And then we'll edit this and we'll show entity name, str1 and entity name. And we'll save this. Now, first things first, let me add an active form flow here. Advanced data grid, all I give you is selection changed. Run on all make output as forms output.
We're using an external data structure.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
It should make a different. This is not. It shouldn't matter what the data is.
Okay.
The issue is getting the entity action on the advanced data grid to know what form it's a part of. Like if it knew what form it was being called on, theoretically it could update like a hidden checkbox or something stupid. At which point that checkbox could fire off a refresh event. But the entity action, it doesn't know that it's on a report. It doesn't know it's on advanced data grid on a form. It doesn't have that context right now. So I'm just trying to think if there's a way for us to trick it into knowing. You could just, I mean, the dumbest example might just be, not dumbest, I should stop being so derogatory, but you can run these things on a schedule. So you can auto run, you could have it refresh on some cadence. That'd give you something. It wouldn't be perfect. You don't want to do these too aggressively, but auto run would let you refresh every once in a while. You could have an event button that says refresh that you manually click. That's not ideal. I think ultimately what you need here, Dorn, is a change, a feature request, so that an entity action on an advanced data grid is a triggerable event. And in that,
would be amazing.
We don't have that today. I can punt that to Neil and ask Neil to follow up on that. But I think you probably, let me ask the product team and the PS team and see if they have anything more clever. I'll get Neil involved here. But I think you're talking about a feature change to get that. I think auto run or a manual refresh icon are the best that you could do in like right now.
Yeah, the manual refresh is a no-brainer. We have that, but just in terms of giving a user a better experience where they don't have to refresh,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean it's really reasonable to want that. It's just not something I don't think we've considered yet. So let me get Neil involved and tag Neil in on that and see if that's something that we can get in front of a product team for inclusion in a future release.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You bet. Happy to help. All right, anything else? We're almost at an hour. This is a wonderful, wonderful lunch and learn. I appreciate everyone attending and asking great questions. A reminder, I'm here every Monday and Tuesday. So if there's questions like this that you have, please feel free to bring them. I think that's it for everybody, Sab. So we'll go ahead and call it. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the questions. Have a great afternoon. And tomorrow we've got Sin, and Thursday we were going to have Ashley. I think we'll have someone else besides Ashley on Thursday. Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See ya.